everyone to put your cameras on and give us a wave. Welcome, everyone. It's time to begin. We're so excited to have you joining us for today's webinar, The Things I Wish I Knew as a Starting CSM. My name is Noam, and I'm EverAfter's Product Education Manager, and I'll be your host for today. We'd like to start by giving a warm welcome to our amazing panelists. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored to have these customer success all-stars here to share their insights from their career path as CSMs. We'd also like to say hi and welcome you, our great audience. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join this informative webinar, wherever you are in the world, just like our panelists. I can't wait to see what interesting questions and insights you'll share with us during the panel. We'll have a few minutes at the end to discuss your questions and thoughts, so feel free to share them at any point, even from now, in the chat and Q&A. According to Forbes, investing in new customers is 25 times more expensive than retaining existing ones. Moreover, 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience. With these stats in mind, it makes sense that SaaS companies today are investing great efforts into nurturing their existing customers and customer base. Partnership, transparency, and collaboration have evolved to become the main values of customer service today. Our aim today is to connect with and hear from top customer success industry leaders who are here to share their insights from their career journeys and the evolution that they currently see happening in the customer success space, in the hopes that you'll gain some key takeaways for your day-to-day and career path. We have with us today Jonathan, Mariah, Omri, and Rachel. We'll start with a quick round of introductions. Firstly, Jonathan. Jonathan comes as the Director of Customer Success at Optimove, a leading CRM marketing hub and empowering brands to create and manage large-scale, personalized, customer-led journeys. Jonathan, come say hi.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. I'm from Tel Aviv. I'm obsessed with customer success because I love working with clients, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share some of my insights to all the new CSMs around the world. So thanks again.
Great. Of course, Jonathan, and nice to have you with us. Next, we have Mariah, who's the Scale Customer Success Manager at Gong, the first revenue intelligence platform enabling sales teams to analyze and understand their every customer interaction. Mariah.
Hey, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And, thank you EverAfter for hosting such an exciting topic, great webinar, and really just for the invitation to share my experience as a Scale CSM. And I'm excited to learn alongside such an accomplished group today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Mariah. We also have with us today Omri, who's the Technical Customer Success Team Lead at Snyk, empowering the world's developers to build secure applications and helping security teams to meet the demands of the digital world. Omri.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for having me today on the webinar. And I'm super, super excited about this topic. And I would say that I really hope that we can influence the concept of being a trusted advisor in order to get more and more talented customer success joining this amazing community. So again, thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here.
Beautifully said. Thanks for that, Omri. And last but not least, we have with us Rachel, who's a Customer Success Manager at Mitek Systems, a global leader in mobile capture and digital identity verification. Rachel.
Hi, thanks for having me. I fell into customer success about 10 years ago and never thought that I'd be asked to discuss my journey. So I'm just so honored to be here and excited to also learn from our fellow panelists and maybe some audience members. So thanks again for having me.
Of course. Thanks for that, Rachel. And really to all the panelists from me on a personal level, I'll be learning so much from all of you. And thank you for doing this today from wherever you are in the world. Now we're going to jump straight into the questions. We'll start off broad, go into more specific, and there's no reason here to focus on etiquette. If anyone says something that stands by you or you disagree with or want to share, jump right in. Let's have some debate. Okay, we can show some personality here. But we'll start just by learning a bit about how you started your career in customer success. Did you have a traditional career path leading to where you are today? And maybe we'll start this question in the order of the introductions. So maybe Jonathan, why don't we start with you?
Yes. So this is funny because I actually didn't start as a traditional customer success. My first role was an account strategist at Google. And basically, I see that as a very customer success oriented role because the role basically was, I had a portfolio of clients, advertisers who used Google's suite of products, search, display, in YouTube. And the goal was basically to manage these accounts, to make them adopt all the different features and other products that Google has to offer, and obviously expand and increase their revenue. So it's not a SaaS platform, so to speak. It's more of an ad tech solution, but it was really, really customer success because we were tied into the customers' main revenue generation stream, and I was just helping them to drive value. So that's how I started.
Interesting, Jonathan. Mariah, what about you?
Yeah, thanks so much. So I also began on quite a different note. My professional experience originally actually started within the nonprofit sector, specifically environmental nonprofits. And then I actually ended up working at a circus school where a lot of those themes was all about ensuring that whether you were a student or a volunteer, that your success through a program. And so that's how I initially learned that I really enjoyed helping individuals reach a certain goal through a program. But my more typical customer success in a B2B SaaS format began a little over 3 years ago while I was working for a company, and we had a significant workload, and I was actually starting off as a CSA, a customer success associate. We're talking like managing like 860 accounts at any given moment. So it was pretty bananas. Yeah. And so from there is I learned how firsthand how like excessive repetitive tasks were really preventing us from being truly like proactive and customer centric. And so from there, I noticed such a huge opportunity and to create like a self-serve experience. So I taught myself Confluence, and I helped kind of release our company's first public facing help center. And that experience was really what made me realize how much I enjoyed creating specifically scalable customer success solutions. And so really that brings me to Gong in my interview with them a little over a year ago. So they thought that was a unique experience, and it really couldn't have been a more perfect fit because they were about to build out their Scale customer success team. So I was the third hire on the Scale CS team, and I'm having such a blast today on our Scale team as we work to, as we say, create raving fans at scale.
Wow, amazing, Mariah. And I'm sure your clients are definitely benefiting from your unique and vast experience. Omri, your turn.
So I would say that my story starts with the same kind of funny of kind of statement. I wasn't a customer success when I started. So I started as a program manager, also in a nonprofit company. And I was on the side of the, I needed to to implement SaaS products and platform into our environment. So it started with I saw that we had some vendors that had customer success that help us to achieve this kind of value and make sure that we're doing the right thing, and some that didn't have. And I found myself being this internal customer success for the product that we onboarded and adopted and integrated. Then later on, I moved to be more kind of a pre-sale in another company. But then I found out that they asked me to try to help the pre-sale, and I found myself managing the post-sale, working with them and their accounts, and then we started to shape this customer success role. Something around 4 years ago, I moved to the UK, and I found this amazing opportunity. But it was the first time that I literally aimed to find a role that called customer success, because I said oh, this is a technology that I like. I believe that I can learn it fast, and I can help my customer to be successful by adapting and implementing this tool and seeing us not just as a product, but as a solution. Because value comes from a solution, change management, and helping customer to mature the way that they use like products in order to achieve their goals. That was what made me super excited. And I really see a very kind of a new breed and species, like breed of like kind of customer success, like different flavors. Here I'm here today, like, managing like a team of key accounts, strategic accounts, and who would believe that you just need to start somewhere. And that was the initiation for that.
Yeah, great, Omri. Thanks for that. And Rachel, before we move on to you, I'm just reading the chat, and Andy asked a great question after Mariah. How does one even handle over 800 accounts? So perhaps when we come back to you guys, you can explore that. But that's a fascinating question. And also, everyone, all the attendees, please, any thoughts, questions, insights, feel free to share them in the chat. We'll have special question time at the end, but also if relevant, I'd love to read your thoughts throughout this webinar. Rachel, what about you?
Well, I can definitely say I've never handled 800 plus accounts, maybe 50 at the most. So that's really impressive, Mariah. Yeah, same as the rest of the group. I did not start out as a customer success manager from day one. I was actually a broadcast journalism major in college. I was getting IT jobs after college, landed at a couple of startup companies, doing software training, customer support, found out that support was very hard and very demanding, and kind of fell into this role of a CSM, didn't even really know what it was. I don't think a lot of people 10 plus years ago knew what customer success managers did. It's kind of growing into its own, which is great now, but back then I really didn't know what I was doing. But as I've kind of picked up CSM jobs in the last few years, I've come to find that I can lean on my broadcast journalism degree a little bit, and every customer has a story, every CSM has a story. And I think there's something, out there that a lot of people can learn from our customers and the journeys that we have with them. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to dive into in my current role here at Mitek. I've been a CSM at Mitek for 2 years, and now I've moved into management and trying to just build out a team of leaders and tell our customer stories as we have them. And that's kind of where I've been for the last 10 years, just trying to dive in more deeper and deeper in learning how customer success really works. And I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Rachel. So after those introductions, Rachel, I actually think the next question will start with you before we start moving around. It brings us to the topic of this webinar. If you would go back to the first day as a CSM, what would you tell your past self? What's like one thing you wish you would have known then?
I think I would probably try and remind myself not to get too stressed out, not to sweat the small stuff, just generally. But I think I would also probably tell myself that it's okay not to know the answer. And it's okay to be vulnerable with your customers. I think so many times a CSM is expected to know everything and answer things on the spot, say yes or no. And I think it's totally okay to tell a customer that you don't know the answer, and that you'll have to do some digging, do some investigation. I think that actually sits better with a customer when you're vulnerable that way and come back with a very in-depth answer or solution. And lastly, I'd probably actually say that if a customer is in an escalation or if they fall into a red zone where they're at risk, I think that's okay too. I think so many CSMs here today would probably agree that having a customer with an escalation is like the worst thing that could happen. But I actually think sometimes there's an opportunity there that you can pull from and lean on if you strategically approach it correctly. And I could get into that a little later if we want, but I think all those things, just not sweating the small stuff and not worrying about customers, being in green and super happy all the time is probably what I would tell myself.
Thanks for that, Rachel. It's a remarkably honest answer. And I'll speak, I come from an education background, and so many of these values also apply to teachers, and also good teachers, being vulnerable, honesty, being open. Mariah, I was wondering if you have anything to share.
Yeah, well, Rachel, I just want to say that was an incredible answer. And, as I was preparing for today, that even crossed my mind, right? Of like, oh, I remember I would be worrying about everything. Like, was I patient enough, compassionate enough? Did I follow up quick enough? But a lot of times it's not like being a CSM isn't about like being perfect in the typical sense of, like you're saying, having the right question, responding quick enough. And I think just being open of like, hey, I'm working on this for you, can really, really level set. So just wanted to say that was really great and something I had to learn too. There were two things that came to mind when I was looking, thinking about like today's theme. The first thing that I wanted to share was something that someone from our enablement team shared with me that really has just stuck with me to today. And it was, don't live out of your inbox, specifically your email inbox. I think it could be really easy to just get caught up in putting out fires and always putting like clearing your inbox and email time, before like broader things like completing your playbook tasks, for example. But really leaning on playbooks more than the email inbox is imperative in the effort to proactively, drive value in the customer's overall journey. So that was just really good to keep in mind, because the email inbox is always going to be full and always going to be there. And then I think also Rachel alluded, really said this earlier, but I was going to talk about that. And it may sound cheesy, but really every customer challenge is an opportunity. Identifying patterns like frequently asked customer questions, maybe learning where customers get lost in the product, or even the timing in which these challenges come up is really part of the art of CSMing. Like from there, we have the power to create the playbooks on our own, work with ops to streamline internal processes, give product feedback, help marketing craft the right language. And so every challenge can just be turned to enhancing the organization overall.
Certainly, thanks.
I totally agree with you too. And I don't repeat the things you said, because vulnerability and empathy is something that I think is so critical to CSMs when they begin the role and throughout their lifetime. But one thing I'd like to recommend to new CSMs that start their role, and I wish I could have had this kind of like mindset when I started, is be the CEO of your portfolio. Like you basically own a portfolio of the companies. And if you have that mindset, then you will care and you will understand deeply every different angle and every aspect of your client's business and their issues and their positive, negatives, and things that are going with their businesses, and how to really drive value. And then when needed, you need to know how to loop in the right people from your organization in order to help them. Because obviously you can't win it all. I mean, you're not technical support and you're not dev and all, but you are the quarterback, and you can really make a difference if you really put your mind into it.
Amazing, Jonathan, certainly. Omri?
I don't mind to jump. So first of all, everybody said like amazing stuff. I usually try to just consolidate and said be humble. It's funny, even on our interviews, we have our second interview that we run as a panel. I just want to make sure that people are humble, especially with your audience. What does it mean? It means be interactive, be warm, be vulnerable, but make sure that you don't lose any kind of trust in front of your stakeholders. What does it mean? It means that if you're working in marketing, industry, and you talk to specialists, if you don't have all the knowledge, just it's okay to, people said, slow down and said, that's a great question. Even the way that you pick your words, it's a great question. Let me circle back and check it and get back to you. And then make sure that sometimes you can make these kind of opportunities, these challenges to be opportunities to make sure that your champion looks good. I think that if I will take it, and again, I really agree about you own the account, even there's an account executive, you own the account, but also make sure that you manage in a way the account team. And the reason different companies, different maybe segments can be a bit different, and maybe the role can be different. But today, to be honest, I think that the customer success, we have a very high, kind of frequency meeting with our customers and being in very high touch. Again, depends on the segment itself. We know our customer in a bit different way. And understanding that we can build this trust and can leverage this trust to generate kind of opportunities, and using this language is something that helped me. And if I knew how to do it in an earlier stage, could help me to get to a much better place right now. So I give a good example, sometimes the seller come and ask the question how many seats do you need? We just come and ask how many people do you need us to train? That's almost the same question. We care about the success. We help our customer to be successful, but we also reveal opportunities by showing that we really care about the customer itself and what you're trying to achieve. So this is one thing. And the second thing that I'm a big fan of starting to think about it is that try always to ask yourself, what are the next kind of stages in your career path, and picking the right company that can help you to leverage that and optimize it. Because customer success today, I think that we can see that customer success evolution came from support, account manager, probably engagement manager and stuff like that. But in different companies, it's mean that you from this kind of stage, you can move to be like maybe into the product, into pre-sale. Maybe you can move to do professional services, because in different levels, what we provide today, the service, the knowledge, the information, it's something that like in different levels, maybe somebody will be willing to pay for because they see this kind of value. So today, I always try to think about like 3 steps, forward to understand how joining to a company, to a customer success will empower me and help me to build my knowledge and even open and reveal more opportunities in my career. And it's not a bad thing. It's like people do it all the time, like engineers become like sales leaders in the end of their career. It's okay, not something bad. It's the evolution, and this is what brings diversity of skills and variety of capabilities to our world. So yeah, that's my short answer.
Certainly. Thanks for that, Omri. Next, I want to ask, well, Omri, you might have actually already explored this question somewhat, but I'd be curious to hear from the other panelists about the challenges that they face in their customer success work and the tools and strategies that you use to manage them or cope with them. And so in the meantime, you can think about that question. I'll just comment that I'm loving all the positivity I'm seeing in the chat. We already have a few questions that attendees are sharing, so we'll explore them when it's time in about 10 minutes. Okay, so feel free, keep sharing your insights, comments, and questions. But in the meantime, if anyone has any challenges you're facing and any tools and strategies that work for you.
I can go ahead and take that one. I think when I first started as a CSM, and I think it actually still is true today, is I was in web analytics, now I'm in Saas. I'm not a technical person by nature, so I think just being in technical verticals like I've been, and I would imagine many CSMs are, is learning the products and trying to really bridge the gap between what we see and hear from engineering and product to actually, like I said, bridging that to our end customers so that it makes sense, that it's digestible, that it's trainable. And I think that's just an ongoing issue that I'm always up against, and I've been working with my internal teams to see how we can better bridge that gap. So we've been talking, and I'd be curious to hear from the other panelists if this is something they've explored, is we've been talking about having a product liaison at Mitek and working alongside product marketing to enable our CSMs and customers to truly understand the inner workings and how our product functions. And I think that's a big challenge that we're trying to overcome. And I've been trying to overcome my entire career as a CSM.
Thanks for that, Rachel. Anyone else?
Yeah, I actually wanted to say, I think what small thing that I think is super critical, and that's prioritization. Like when you first start your role, I think one of the biggest challenges is how to prioritize, your day, your inbox, your accounts, and all. And that we have a lot of tools that try to help us, whether it's tiering the accounts, task management solutions, CS solutions, CRM, and so on and so forth. But I want to break it down into the basics. I think the first and foremost is just focus. Begin your day and really try to understand what are the 3 most important things that you want to achieve today that really drive the business. Going back to the CEO hat. So what would really drive your portfolio's success? And then only after you realize and you write those 3 things down, then start your day with meetings, with preps, with emails, and so on and so forth. So focus and prioritize.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jonathan. And before Omri, Rachel, what you said there really actually stuck with me about you not being a technical person, because I'm thinking perhaps as a CSM, that's actually a strength of yours, because really you're dealing with the person, right? Not just a computer screen. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, like again, everybody's saying like so smart stuff, and I love it because I feel like the same empathy because we all feel the same thing. Everybody think that like we think that we're special, but we all face the same thing in the end of the day. And I think that the interesting point is, first of all, I like to call it technical orientation and not being technical. It means that I can talk about the technology. It doesn't mean that I know literally how to execute everything. So when we live in the developer world, we need to know so many stuff about the software life cycle. Does it mean that like if I was so good in that, I would go and be like, a developer, like, I don't know, like a team lead in the development world or something like that, or an SRE or DevOps. But that's not my capability to like, our capability to create this kind of mixture, having this technical orientation that it's oriented to the specific field, to the specific product, and know the acronym is really important, but also bringing like this kind of like this element of being a human being that can interact with people and ask this very simple question that help us to create these opportunities is a big thing. One of the and just if I can comment, so like we had the same challenge, like, we needed to learn so much about helping your customers. And we're expecting people to start to take accounts after 2.5 months of onboarding and learning. So one of the things that we started to do, two things that like really refer to what Rachel said, we have a product core team from every cross-functional, and there is one person that works with the different product directors, and they extract all this content and data for learning, not just enablement, literally the aspect that we care about. And the second thing that we do a lot, and we use different platform and tools, we run internal whiteboard sessions. So we literally we have like a pool of like tons of use cases. You put the use case, I play the customer, somebody else play the customer, shoot, give it to me, ask the discovery question, do try to understand how the product can achieve what they're trying to do. And then you just kind of train this muscle and do it again and again until everything starts to be better. So that's in general the way that I see it right now. But super, it was really important for us to do it.
Certainly. Thanks for that, Omri. I think now just the time is flying. I'm certain it's like fire what you guys are sharing. I think now we'll actually start moving into the questions from the crowd. So here, panelists don't all feel pressured or expected to answer every question. Maybe if you're just like, I'll ask a question, you can just jump in if you want. And of course, if anyone else wants to share your own thoughts, feel free. But perhaps Mariah, we'll start with you the next question. We have a few people asking about any customer success tools that organizations use or that you recommend, but also it relates to what you said earlier about how the heck does a person manage 813 accounts? Mariah.
Yeah, well, just to start off with that very first question of how does one manage that many accounts, I would say the recommendation is to not, right? I don't think that's the goal. I don't think that's the end state. Like I mentioned, that was the first company I was at. It was more of just during the company's reorganization. It happened to be at that time, but we actually had 3 CSAs though managing 860 accounts, which even that still is quite a lot. But that, I think, when a company is growing very, very quickly, that kind of then leads into what a scale CSM is. And I just feel like might be important just to indicate here, because that led to another question that I saw of just about how do you even get customers to start going to support instead of the CSM. So a scale CSM's overall goal is to work with customers in a one-to-one fashion, that we're not eliminating that, but really to hopefully only focus those one-on-one interactions and meetings on very high impact objectives, and then things where all customers are asking or wanting learning about. That's hopefully where one-to-many success programs come into play. So those can be things like webinars, general playbooks, and really taking advantage of those. I also wanted to just clarify that at least during our initial, communication with our customers, we do like to set the expectation of kind of what my partnership with them will be like. And that's to help make sure that, at Gong, their business is getting the most out of Gong and we're solving their top business objectives. And that's the goal of me. If they have any technical questions, support related questions, that they'll probably get a quicker response from our support team. If they or their team needs any team trainings, we have an incredible education team where they can sign up for team trainings. So really just it's important as a CSM to set expectations of, what your partnership is with them versus the other resources at your company. And then I do, shameless plug. The first tool that I wanted to talk about, though, in terms of being a CSM is hands down Gong. I'm really lucky to work at Gong, where internally we use Gong. And not just saying this, I really couldn't imagine being a CSM without Gong. So for example, at the end of my day, Gong tells me, what calls to follow up on from the day. It tells me what action items I said I would send to which customer, what things I would direct them to in our next steps. And it also allows me to stay on top of renewals and upsells by informing me proactively of any risks. And this allows me to not focus on taking notes during the call and did I get every detail down. It allows me to be more present with the customers. So have to just say Gong for CSMs is great. And then I don't want to go too long, but obviously our skill team now is using EverAfter for onboarding. So I'd be happy to chat about that, but don't want to take up too much space.
Mariah, I want to second what you said. I've seen a Gong demo and it's really impressive. And I think we're talking about using it at Mitek. So shameless plug here too, but It was a very impressive tool that I think it allows you to just, as a CSM, focus on the meeting and not worry about notes and follow-ups. So I think it's a fantastic tool as well.
We use it. We also use Gong, to be honest, and it's awesome because then I just submit in the past it was which technology are you using? Tell me about your goals. Today I just go in and we created automation. They just find this kind of sentence. I end up check, boom, thank you. I have a summary. We can move forward and just deal with the actual thing. In the past it took us something like 30 minutes.
Omri, if I could just interrupt you there, thanks. Thank you all for sharing. It looks like we all use Gong. Even EverAfter also has a Gong integration, but that's what.
Yeah, I think it's funny how there's Gong is kind of like a consensus, but it's been a while in the market, and I think it is worth mentioning the EverAfter because we recently started using that with our clients, and on top of all your basic task management and CRMs and so on, EverAfter and the concept of a success hub, because they're not the only one in the market. I won't name names, but this is the software that we use today. I think the idea of a success hub, this kind of like a portal that bridges between you and your client is really amazing. And the fact that TSMs can just create a WYSIWYG drag and drop kind of have everything all in one place without being relying on developers to do everything that kind of sits within your SaaS platform. That's quite amazing. So we just throw all our shared documents there, all our tutorials, education recordings, even Gong recordings. We could put within our EverAfter portal. So I think that's a great tool as well that we use. And other than that, unfortunately, emails and Slack, we just can't avoid it. And I want to refer to Andy that asked a really, really sensitive question earlier in the chat. And I also want to address this to the other panelists if they have great ideas. So he asked how to make the clients make sure that they address technical support and not CSMs with technical questions. And I think this is from the beginning of my career as CSM, that's a constant theme. What I try to do with my CSMs is basically make them set expectations with clients when they do the intro meetings or handover with new accounts. Just make sure that they outline what is a technical situation and how they are more of a strategic partners and advisor for them. And even if they make a mistake and send them an email with a very technical question, I kindly send them an email back saying this is a support question, please use our support. And I'm not even forwarding or opening a ticket on their behalf. I'm just really trying to educate them on how to use probably the right channels and tool. But I would love to hear Rachel, Maria, Omri, what do you guys do in this case?
Could I just jump in quickly? That this also could connect with the question that someone asked about how to perhaps direct customers towards support instead of their CSM.
I actually was just going to put a quick nugget out there. We have a support team. We also have an email and a portal, a support portal. So I think those are very basic pieces that you need to have. But we also have a support flyer that we send to our customers regularly just to remind them that there is a support team out there that can help them with specific issues. We'll list examples of things like technical support that's needed that may go beyond a CSM. And we also share that with them during their onboarding with us. We have an actual onboarding team that walks through the roles and responsibilities at Mitek of each organization so that the customers from day one are trained to understand that there is a support team that can help them with X, Y, and Z, and that the CSM is dedicated there for, ABC. So that's just my 2 cents.
Omri?
So I just want to say that like the same thing is about being very explicit. So one of our first slides is an intro and explain roles and responsibilities, how you can do that and that and that. And we really I know that it's a very thin line between doing architecture, solution, design, talk versus solving a technical issue, but we empower and we remind our customer that we have an amazing support team that can do it. But we literally start with the idea, this is a slide, these are all the point of escalation, these are the rules and responsibilities, and move forward with it. If a customer is contacting us about a support issue, we usually will tell you, thank you very much for bringing this on, and we will just forward it to the email box of the support team, and we'll just start to review it. And the idea is, especially I can tell you about what we're doing. So,
Wait, Omri, I'll cut you off in about 30 seconds. I want to move on to the next question. Okay, so feel free to just wrap up.
No worries. So I just want to say one thing is that we need to deal with end users, and sometimes you have 20,000 end users. We cannot fix their issues because it's used by a developer. So absolutely, it's all about just matching expectation in the phase of onboarding.
Okay, thanks, Omri. And panelists, because now we're just heading into the attendee questions, there won't necessarily be a chance for everyone to answer every question, but feel free to jump in at any point. The next question is certainly quite interesting, as they all are, but at a startup, our CSMs are a jack of all trades. How do you scale and grow the team to support all aspects of success as the customer numbers grow? Does anyone want to jump in on this one? Mariah?
Sure. I'm happy to chat about, at least on our scale team, the process that we're going through. So as I kind of alluded to, won't go too much into it, for our scale team to manage our volume, and this kind of goes into more into the question of tools, but EverAfter is what our scale team, at least for currently, for now, the onboarding phase of our customers. So we were pretty meticulous about how we went, how we address this. We had a theory that our customers would achieve faster time to value if they were provided with a self-serve tool. So when talking, to address your question of, scaling out, if there's any, again, big chunks or themes that your customers are going through that you feel like could be answered at scale, EverAfter has been our solution. So we use EverAfter now to guide them through their essential account setup steps. We conducted a small directional A/B test and found that the customers that were using the EverAfter admin portal completed their setup before their first call with their CSM about 2 to 3 times the rate of customers that were not using the EverAfter admin portal. And it also took them 10 times less emails with the CSM to do so. So EverAfter is how we onboard our customers through the technical admin steps on the scale team. And we just released our second segment yesterday. So I'd be happy, I hope that helps. I'm not sure if there's a type of portal that would address the type of scaling that your company is going through, but happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Of course, thanks for that, Mariah. And also full disclosure, not all our panelists are EverAfter customers. This isn't an EverAfter plug. This is a customer success webinar. That's what this is. Jonathan, did you want to share something?
No, I think just going back to that question, one of the main tasks in order to scale your operation is really clearly segmenting and tiering your clients and understanding what is the best engagement method or engagement plan for each segment and tier. So obviously for for scale accounts, you need a scale plan and more self-service solutions. And for your tier 1 and more like higher ARR accounts, you would need more attention, maybe weeklies with your clients and QBRs, EBRs, and so on and so forth. So I think this is a great way to start.
Okay, thanks for that, Jonathan. There are some fascinating questions here. So really, I apologize again that we might not be able to get to every question, but we have a question from Alon in the Q&A about the key skills which are needed to be a customer success manager. Does anyone just want to jump in and say, what would you define as the key skills? Omri?
I would say program management. In the end of the day, the reason I'm saying that is because we need, like, especially in the, like, in the bigger accounts, the way that we need to see managing our account, it's kind of a program, and understand that there are different stages and the entry criteria and exit criteria from every stage. And based on that, we can understand the risk and the opportunities and how fast they can move about it. So we started also to establish the ability to track our customer, like, in their journey, and just making sure that we have benchmarks based on complexity and size. So program management is our key to assess risk and assess, like, opportunities, and make sure that our customers are, like, on the right trajectory in a way. Because maybe in some other companies you can have, like, more soft skills of being more like a salesperson. But in this case, I can say, like, when you work in the IT world, our audience are, they have goals and they try to achieve them usually.
Thanks, Omri. Jonathan?
Yeah, so I think I'll just say one word, and that's empathy. For CSMs, they must have empathy towards the client. And that basically captures a lot, just being able to listen, to understand their issues, their challenges, and understand their business KPIs. And yeah, I'll pause at that because I'm sure Rachel and Mariah has great skills to share.
I was actually just going to second you, Jonathan. I think you can't teach empathy. I think it's something that comes naturally, and I think it's needed. And to speak a little more generally and philosophically, if you will, I think having just natural curiosity and drive and competitiveness as a CSM is what we look for in skill sets, because I think you can teach a lot of, the not soft skills, the harder skills, learning how to use tools and how to project manage and things like that. I think looking for those deep rooted skill sets is kind of what I just mentioned. That's what we look for, and I strive by.
Thanks, Rachel, for that. Perhaps I don't want to open a whole can of worms, but perhaps empathy could be a difference between customer success and sales. Right? It's almost like it's post-sales.
Yeah.
I didn't say
support that.
I hope now no questions in the chat are, how do you still have a job? Okay, I see a question from Aaron, fascinating question, about the evolution of the customer success world. How have you seen the customer success role change change in your experience? And how do you imagine the role could be different 3 to 5 years in the future? I certainly have no clue. So perhaps if any of you guys just want to jump in and share your thoughts. Jonathan.
Yeah, I just think like a lot of the immediate answer that a lot of people think it's going to be automated and we're going to lose our job to bots. But on the contrary, I just think SaaS products are becoming so complex that there will never be a bot in the world that would manage to gap and bridge between the product and the end users. So I think there will be more and more customer success managers, and the company and like the CROs or the C-levels would put more emphasis on this division and on this part of the business, because we're just like a key driver for growth, both from revenues and logo.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Omri, do you want to share something?
So yeah, I want to believe that like it's the same way that we see also like other roles, like migrating different roles into one role. I will say that I believe that it will be a mixture between solution engineers, or even not solution architects, to being kind of like, this kind of an account manager. So this kind of merge, or something that will take you like to be more kind of a merge between being like a sales rep to account manager. So the idea itself is that like, or either we take more about the help, like how we're going to help our customer from A to Z to be successful, or how we literally manage more like commercial and engagement, like, relationship with the customer. So that's the way that I see it. And it's because technology becomes smarter and people still become smarter and more like, more kind of like talented in the end of the day.
Okay, thanks for that, Omri. Now we'll read our next question from the Q&A from Jen. Have some more positive questions, something a bit different, but about the way that you communicate and work with different teams in your organization. The question is, what are your favorite ways to work with your product marketers? What kind of projects do you work with the product marketer on? Anyone?
I
Rachel.
can take that. Yeah, we work really closely with our marketing team, and or product marketing and marketing, I should specify. I had never had that at a former company, and I totally believe and support it. We do a lot of account-based marketing techniques with our marketing team. They know more about it than I do, but we build personas and different types of profiles of what the different types of customers we work with and how to approach and what drives them, what gives them incentive, and how we can actually basically drive attendance of our customers to certain events, to speak, to be part of we have an innovator community that product marketing is leading up. So I'm happy to talk about that more offline, but I think just working really closely, I guess, in summary, with product marketing is something that I never had before, and I would have a hard time going to another company if we didn't have that close relationship.
Thanks for that, Rachel. This other question comes from our chat. Seems like it's a story, but it's a fascinating question. We have assigned CSMs for our higher end customers. Currently, I'm on an assignment to reach out to customers who had no previous CSM because they are lower end. What advice can you provide that will make sure I do not go full CSM mode on them? So I'm assuming that means less emails and touches. I just do not want a low-end customer to become too needy and depend on my team to get them the white glove treatment, like our higher end customers. So I suppose while you're thinking, when you're creating or cultivating a relationship with anyone or a new customer, it's like your interaction could lead a precedent from their perspective about every interaction with them. So I suppose, what advice from your experience would you use to answer this question?
I'm happy to jump in real quick. When this was definitely something that when I had that very large handful of accounts that were kind of people who did not have a designated CSM, but still needed those kind of resources. A few quick tips. First, you can try to treat it if you're able, if you have some software that makes it easy, maybe even like a template generator. Instead of like signing your name, it's sometimes little simple things like that. Instead of signing your name, maybe just put customer success team. Little things like that make it a smidge less, I don't want to say less personalized. You do want it to be personalized, but maybe that doesn't give the impression that, yeah, you're their designated person. And you can also, back to what Rachel was saying earlier, you can be honest and being honest and open with them. If they did come back and continue to want, a lot of your attention, I think it's fair to just establish, like, I'm happy to, direct them to the more self-serve resources if you have them. So trainings, community centers, help articles, and just, you can always just say your availability and when they can't expect to hear back from you. No, it's not probably the best and easiest answer, but I would start there.
We actually had something similar back at Taboola. What we wanted to do is really create just kind of like a single onboarding session. So a new client or existing client would have the opportunity to at least speak once with a customer success manager, but not be reliant for the long term on their help. So the messaging was very important. And what we did was we told them we sent an email, like a blast email. We did use the team, as you suggested, Maria, which is a great tip. But we mentioned that they are eligible for a free 30-minute session with an advisor. So they know that if they want to schedule, obviously, then with the Calendly option, so they know that it's framed that they only have like one option for this, 30 minutes call. And then afterwards, it's support or self-service solutions that you can also explicitly mention on the email.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. Omri, do you want to add?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think that like it's worth to think in kind of like potential and segmentation in the end of the day. So like we started with, we have like high touch, then we have low touch. And in the low touch, we just created some kind of a more community motion. And then we have like the PLG itself. So by understanding the potential of the account, we can understand like how much we need to invest there. So what does it mean to be in the low touch? The low touch just convert everything to be one-to-many. Like people mentioned, we have a community that everybody can join on Slack and ask questions or using different kind of a platform. But we also offer office hours and onboarding office hours that like literally people jumping and asking the question. Yes, sometimes it can be a bit tricky because we're in the application security world and not everybody wants to like, to just say that like, it's like the name of the company or something like that. But the idea is like, try to leverage a community motion to answer like one-to-many with strong nurture, like, email campaigns that trigger based on like, of activities and kind of like mature, like, the level of maturity of the customer. So you always like do kind of gamification. You tell them like, great job, next stage, we'll achieve that. And then you have like 3 dimensions, as I said, like, like the campaign motions, then you have like, the one-to-many, and you have the community. And it ended up to be really successful, to be honest, because like we also had this case of managing 200 like customer success that managed 300 like customers, just converted to be more automation, more one-to-many.
Okay, thanks, Omri. It looks like we only have time for one more question, but I see that our panelists have shared their LinkedIn information in the chat. And of course, right, we're all here as a community to help each other and to offer our support. But the next question, I'm not sure if it necessarily talks about career advancement, but it's to make sure to ask how you're continuously developing in your role. The question is, how do you continue to grow within your CSM role? I imagine trial and error can be a bit risky. What type of training support do you receive? If anyone wants to answer this one.
I actually just answered it in the chat, and from my perspective, I think trial and error, I agree, it's super risky. I'm a pretty conservative person when it comes to risk, but I think that's the only way you can really grow is to trial and error and measure the data and your journey along the way. And I think most of us would probably agree we've come a long way from day one, and it's probably from having a few failures or two. But for more like concrete and hard data, I think in the industry that I'm in, I try and do as much conferences, webinars, training courses to further understand the businesses that our customers have so that I can be a consultant and continue to grow with them and be basically an extension of their team. So that's just my short answer.
Okay, thanks for that, Rachel. And it really looks like the time is just flying by. Really loving all the positivity also in the chat. It looks like it is time to end. In a bit, I'll start wrapping up. So perhaps we can just go around, and I'd appreciate if the panelists could share any concluding thoughts or advice to share with our attendees. Perhaps, Jonathan, why don't you start? We'll go Jonathan, Omri, Rachel, and Mariah.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thanks again for the opportunity. I just want to say that this is also from what Rachel mentioned before, how to grow within your role. This is a word that I usually use whenever I have a first intro meeting with new CSM on my team. This is something that is part of my expectations from every CSM and also every CSM on my team and also for myself. It's just to be curious. And if we constantly stay curious, we learn more about our product, about our business, about our vertical, about our industry, about our clients. And this is what helps us, what helps me grow in my team. In my role.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Omri?
Yeah. So I think that I will try to just to frame it as like, try to build and like interact with as much as people inside the company from different kind of verticals and different kind of like, of departments, just to make sure that you start to build cross-function relationship to learn faster and develop yourself faster. That's what helped me. Like, I'm not shy to book meetings with like the CPO, the CRO, whatever, and ask these kind of questions and learn from them. I think that it's also related to curiosity in the end of the day, because the company, especially in early stages, hire very talented people that I can learn a lot from them. So thank you. Thank you again for inviting me.
Okay, thanks, Omri. Rachel?
I would actually just echo what Jonathan and Omri said. I couldn't agree more. And I think, yeah, just natural curiosity and empathy, it seems to be the words of the day. And yeah, I'm happy to connect offline with anyone who has any additional questions. I'm so stimulated by all the chatter, and it's really humbling and exciting to see others as passionate about this topic as I am. So just again, honored to be here, and thank you so much for having me, and hopefully look forward to connecting with others and everyone offline.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. We're honored to have you and all our panelists here. Mariah.
Great. Well, yeah, I thank you again so much. I had such a fun time today, honestly, learning from all of you and chatting with you. And honestly, the questions coming through the chat have been great. So yeah, also echoing everyone, happy to continue the conversation. Something that just I took from today that I figure I would just share back is that I think failure is essential. Failure is essential, and really what Rachel said earlier about like being vulnerable. Failure is how we can identify gaps, weaknesses, whether it's again with internal systems or areas in our organization. And I think that's just a really necessary skill from a CSM is in addition to being curious and not being afraid to speak up when we see if anything is missing, because that's part of our job, I feel, is to connect any dots, whether it's with product marketing or product. And then the other thought was just to lean into your personal skill sets and your personal interests. If you have a knack for creating email templates and you really like working with product marketing, lean into that and do that. If you're into product and you're excited about creating scalable systems, do that. And I feel like if you're interested in CSMing, we all have like a skill and something in us that will, make us bring something really unique to your organization.
Thanks for that, Mariah. I think that's actually quite profound, that so many of the skills and traits of a good CSM that you mentioned, they're actually fundamental like life lessons, really. And Andy summarizes it really nicely in the chat. Thomas Edison, I didn't fail. I just found 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb. I only needed to find one way to make it work. Okay, thanks for that, Andy, in the chat. So really, everyone, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you. So thank you to our panelists, and thank you to all the attendees that are watching live, contributed in the chat, Q&A, and will be watching in the future. So hello from the past. This was really insightful, and I learned so much. In a nutshell, I learned from my side, as a CSM, be empathetic. Think about the experience from the customer's point of view, create a positive impression from the first customer interaction, and keep on learning. Feed your curiosity. So this was our first webinar. So please, everyone, just stay tuned for upcoming webinars and future events. All the best, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, everyone.